everyone and welcome to day 19 of this advent series. Today I'll be making a card that has a focal point on the background with some perfect pearls, and I'm using a stencil from My Favorite Things. It's the concentric circle stencil, and I just want to use the largest circle for our background, and I'm using some pattern paper from Echo Park Very Merry Christmas. It's a nice red pattern with some words on the bottom. So I made sure to cover the other circles so I would not get my Versamark ink into the other areas, and I squeezed in my Versamark ink onto that pattern paper, and then I took out my Perfect Pearls and Perfect Gold and just dabbed some of them onto the Versamark ink. And the Perfect Pearls do stick to the Versamark ink, and just to the areas where the ink is. You can brush off all the excess as soon as you got the shape that you want covered. This is what I'm doing here. I'm just tapping off the excess and brushing it off with my Perfect Pearls brush, which is just a soft brush. I guess you can use any soft brush, and you can see it shines very nice, a very nice golden shine. So this will be a very classic and traditional Christmas card with gold and red and also some green. I cut off the excess with my X-Acto knife, and that is our background. And I'm using Lawn Fawn's Winter Owl, which will be in the middle of this circle. I stamped it with my Memento black ink, and this was still my old ink pad, so I had to do it twice. The first impression was not as good, so I stamped it twice. And I also stamped this onto the place where the owl would be because of his little feet and yes, some lines that were on his scarf. And then I colored that in with my markers. I used some browns for the owl and some green for his scarf. And you can see I didn't do it too careful, but this time I started with the lightest color. So last time I told you I always start with the darkest. I guess I should have a look what I'm doing a little more. I guess I just do it by intuition and do what feels best for me. Someone asked me if I could do a tutorial on coloring. I guess I can't. There are so many tutorials out there, and I just use my intuition and do what feels best for me. I have no idea what I'm doing, in fact. So I just try to think where the shadows could be, and this will be the darker areas. And I try to do it quick so the colors still blend very well. And I also use the lightest color to blend all the colors in the end. And when I have a scarf like this, with some lines that, yes, where are some creases, I can imagine where the light would be and where some shadows would be. And this is what I use to have some orientation on adding some shadows and some lights. You can see there are some areas that I cover again and again just to make it blend really well and to darken the shadows again after the blending. And in the end I went in with my red brown to color the beak of the owl. And like I do often, I cut my image out. I really like fuzzy cut images. And I used a Pitt Artist pen to follow the black lines that would be sticking out from the owl, so the feet and the little lines on his scarf. And then I glued my owl down with my tape runner. And I decided to put the sentiment from the same set into a speech bubble, also from Lawn Fawn. So I tried out which speech bubble would fit the sentiment perfectly, and I found out that this would fit, and I tried out if it would also fit onto the paper. It did, and I wanted it to be in a green ombre effect. I didn't want anything white on that card. I just wanted to have traditional Christmas colors, so I used the same green shades that I used for the scarf, and I went for some light green on the top of this speech bubble and some dark green on the bottom. And then I blended that in, and I think this was the hardest part. I do not have too many shades of green, so I really tried to have a nice shading on that. And again, I'm blending that in. And then I made sure it was really dry, and I used my heat gun to set the ink, because I wanted to use some perfect pearls for the sentiment as well. So I wanted to make sure they would not stick anywhere but in the Versamark ink. So I really made sure this was dry. And I love the color and how this turned out. I didn't have expected it to be that good. I used my powder tool, again, to be sure that the perfect pearls would only stick where I want them to stick. And then I used the sentiment with some Versamark ink. And you can see it just fits into that speech bubble. And then I used the perfect pearls in gold again to keep up with that color palette that we used. And just brushed off the excess very well. And you can also put the excess back into the little, what is it, a little box. You can see all this shine, but it depends on how the light falls onto that speech bubble. So you will see in the picture later that sometimes you don't see the owl or the speech or the sentiment very well. And it really depends on the angle that you have to the light. To finish off my card, I took my corner chomper and just rounded the corners, and that finished the shiny card for today. I hope you got inspired to use some traditional Christmas colors or even some gold shine on your card, and I'll catch you tomorrow. Thanks for watching!